This video will cover section 2.2 on circles. Now with circles, you can write them in a couple different forms, the equation of them in a couple different forms. We're going to look at the center radius form of the equation of a circle, and the title will give us the information that is provided in that equation, the center and the radius. So if you'll look here, this is the center radius form, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The h, the k, and the r are numbers. X and y are always just themselves. If you take the h and the k, alright, they give you the coordinates of the center of the circle. Then if you take the square root of r squared, that will give you the radius of the circle. Alright, so remember, the radius of the circle is the distance from the center to the outer edge of the circle. And we can use this information to help us graph this equation. Alright, if I have a circle with the center 0, 0 and a radius r, the equation is going to be x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Because if you filled it into the form and you said x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals r squared, here if I take x and I subtract nothing from it, I still have x squared, or I just have x squared. The same thing with the y. If I have y and I take nothing or add nothing to it, I just get y squared. So that gives us x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So keep this in mind as we look at different equations, alright, and being able to determine the center and the radius. So if you ever see just an x squared, then you know that the h value is 0. And if you ever see just a y squared, then you know that the k value is 0. Also, I want to point out that this is x minus h and y minus k. Alright, keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that you're not going to see plus signs. Okay, so let's take a look and write a couple equations of some circles. Alright, so I want to write the equation of a circle with the center that is at 1, negative 2 and has a radius of 3. Once I write the equation, then I want to graph the circle. Okay, so using the center radius form, I'm going to fill in my h, my k, and then my r. Alright, h is always the x value of the coordinate, k is always the y value of the coordinate. So if I take those and fill them in, I'll have x minus 1, and then y minus, and that's a negative 2, so make sure you put negative 2 there. And then the radius is 3. All right, and then I'm going to simplify where I can. So then that'll be x minus 1 squared plus minus a negative becomes y plus 2 squared equals 9. So this is the equation of the circle. All right, now I want to graph it. So I'm going to go and first mark the center. The center is located at 1, negative 2. So from the origin, I'm going to go right 1, and then I'm going to go down 2. This is my center. Then the radius of the circle is 3. That means from the center to the outer edge is a distance of 3. Now remember, back in the last section when we talked about the distance formula, alright, if I'm just going vertical or horizontal, alright, I don't need the distance formula, but if I wanted to go diagonally, I would need to use it. So we're not going to need to use it here. We can get enough points to make a circle by just going vertically and horizontally. So from the center, I'm going to go right 3. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. Then I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. Then I'm going to go left 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. Then I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. And then connect them the best you can to make it look like a circle. Alright, Now, if you wanted to find points that were a distance of 3 that were diagonally, you would have to use the distance formula, and that's going to give you probably some decimal. Right, and those are a little bit harder to graph. So just going right, up, left, and down gives us enough points to make a circle. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says write the equation of the circle with the center at 0, 0, and a radius of 2. Alright, so if my center is at 0, I'm going to say x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 2 squared. Alright, x minus 0. If I add or take nothing, I just have x squared. Same thing with the y. Y minus 0 is just y, and it is squared. And then 2 squared is 4. So x squared plus y squared equals 4 is my equation. Then I want to graph that. First, I'm going to mark my center. It's located at 0, 0. Then, using a radius of 2, I'm going to go right 2. Alright, so we have gone right 2, up 2, left 2, and down 2. And we're going to connect our dots to form our circle. Alright, let's look at page 2. It says write the equation of a circle with the center at 2, 0, and a radius of 5. Then we want to graph it. So if I remember this first number, the x value is the h, the second value is the k. So we'll say x minus 2 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 5 squared. Alright, then I'm going to simplify where I can. Alright, I don't know what x is, so I can't say x minus 2 and get a value. So I'll leave that as it is. But adding or subtracting 0 doesn't change anything, so that will just be y squared. And then 5 times 5 is 25. So here would be the equation of my circle with the center at 2, 0, and a radius of 5. Alright, let's go over here and graph that. Alright, so starting at the origin, to mark the center, I'm going to go right 2, but I don't go up or down any. So here's my center. And then from there, I'm going to move 5 right, 5 up, 5 left, and 5 down to get me enough points to form a circle. So from the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right. From the center up, 5. From the center left, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And from the center down, 5. Then I'm going to connect those dots to form my circle. Okay? Now, if you're given an equation, I'm going to flip over to the back and write a couple of equations down. So if I'm given an equation, let's say x minus 3 squared plus y minus, let's do 4, y minus 4 squared equals 16. And I'm asked to find the center and the radius. Alright, the center is going to be located at 3, 4. Alright, so my center is at 3, 4, and then the radius is going to be the square root of 16, which is 4. Then let's say we have, let's say we have x minus 3, this time y plus 4 squared equals 25. If I want the center will be at 3, negative 4. Alright, because remember this is x minus h. So here's h minus h. And then this is y minus k. Okay, so the only way I can get a plus is if my 4 is negative. So minus a negative makes plus. So that's why this is negative 4. And then my radius, the square root of 25, is 5. Alright, so let's say we have x plus 3 squared times y minus 4 squared equals 36. Alright, my center will be located at negative 3, So remember, the form of the equation says minus x minus h. So if you have a plus there, the only way you're going to get that plus is if you were subtracting a negative. All right, so our h is -3, our k is 4, and then the radius will be the square root of 36, which is 6. All right, and so let's say we have x plus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 49. Then our center is going to be located at -3, -4, and the radius is going to be the square root of 49, which is 7. Okay, so keep in mind that the form says x minus h and y minus k. So if you ever have a plus sign there, the way you got that plus sign was that you were subtracting a negative. All right, and so make sure you get the correct value of h and k written as your center. Otherwise, you're going to graph it incorrectly. Okay, let's flip back to the second page. All right, so in this these problems here, we're asked to decide whether or not this is the equation of a circle. All right, and if it is, to find its center and its radius. Okay, well, when you look at it, the only way we know to find the center and radius of a circle is if the equation is in center radius form, and obviously you can see that this one is not. All right, so there is a way that we can put it in center radius form, and what we're going to have to do is complete the square. All right, and we're going to have to do it twice. Once for the x's, once for the y's. All right, so remember, in completing the square, what we have to do is we have to take the constant and move it to the other side. So we're going to take -44 and we're going to move it over to the right side. All right, and what I'm going to do is leave a little room here after my x and after my y so I can complete the square there. All right, and we just take and do each one individually. So if I want to complete the square on x squared plus 4x, this is, remember, b, I'm going to take half of 4, which is 2, and then I'm going to square that. All right, so half of 2 is 2. I square it and get 4, then I'm going to add that to both sides. Okay, now this is now a perfect square trinomial, which I can factor into x plus, what I got when I took half is 2 squared. All right, then I'm going to add to that. All right, we're going to complete the square with the y's. So in this case, the b is -8. So I'm going to take the -8 and divide it by 2, and that'll give me -4. And then I'm going to square that and get 16. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So plus 16 and plus 16. All right, now this is now a perfect square trinomial, which can be factored into y. And what I got when I took half was -4. So that'll be -4 squared equals, and then this will be 64. Okay, so since we can take this equation and complete the square with both the x and the y and get our two terms here, all right, and make it into an equation that is of center radius form, I can see now that the center of the circle is located at -2, 4, and it has a radius, take the square root of 64 to get 8. All right, let's try that on the next one. All right, we had x squared plus 8x. Put the x's together, leave a little space. Put the y's together, leave a little space. The 16 is already on the opposite side of the equal sign. I'm going to complete the square. So I'm going to take half of 8 is 4 and square it to get 16. All right, so I'll have -16 plus 16. And then here I have -6. Take half of it is -3. Squared is, squared is 9. Add that to both sides. This now factors into x plus 4 squared, y minus 3 squared equals 9, giving me a center at -4, 3, radius equals